Morning, everybody. It's 8:10 a.m. June 24th. Welcome to my channel. Of course, more news. A bunch of things happened yesterday. Iran retaliated, but then the retaliation was basically nothing, which caused almost little to no damage, which wasn't a threat. Therefore, crude got crushed. Price went way down. The market ripped back up and basically broke a key level, right? Since then, there was a ceasefire agreed on, but then supposedly Iran and Israel did not abide by the ceasefire, which is now having Trump being upset. So again, kind of nuts. But as far as the TA goes, all right, the markets have broke a key level. Let's see if today there's follow through or not. Okay. All right. So, without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. Okay. I try to share that with you. Those levels get reactions all the time, and then I can base plans off them. That's why I use them. Okay. Now every day I do this in the morning. Hopefully you could join me. Subscribe, set an alert, and I give you the market story, the economic calendar, the market news, the leaders and the laggards. And I also go into a lot of TA with daily charts, hourly analysis, and then of course I give you the ES and NASDAQ futures analysis with long and short trade scenarios later on. Okay. And then once the market opens, I use my market internals. Okay, market internals, that gives me what is going on and what the market is capable of when the market opens. Now, if you want to see that commentary live, you could join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, join, and see my commentary live. Okay, last two sessions, pretty much nailed the analysis. I pretty much nail the analysis every day. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you got to trade how I trade, but you could definitely use me as an indicator. I think that's my biggest asset, right? Use me as your edge. Okay, use me as your edge and follow what I'm saying about the markets. Okay, because the key to trading is execution. You might execute better than me on what I'm saying. Okay, so I think that's a big edge for somebody who wants to learn how the market works. Okay, because that's what I provide every day. So hopefully you can come join. All right. Now, we're going to get right into the futures watch list here. Let's see. Now, this percentage thing with the Bitcoin, I think it's thrown off, but Bitcoin's back at 105, was down to 97, I believe, over the weekend. Ethereum's up 4.38%. NASDAQ's up almost 1%. Russell's up 0.90. ES up 0.72. The Dow's up 0.63. The 10-year yield is back up 0.56. Silver is down 0.41. Dollar's down 0.41. 30-year bonds being sold down 0.41. Gold really pulling back, down 2% with the ceasefire. Crude continuing to get crushed, down 4.16. And I can show you crude in exactly with the levels that I talk about, the most traded price of the year and stuff like that. They're magnets, all right? And we'll go into that in a little bit just to show you the power of those levels. The VIX is down 8.42%. We're at 18 VIX. We were at like a 22, I think, yesterday. All right, so let's move on to the Mag 7 Plus. What's moving markets today? AMD continues to power higher. All right, that's one of my top holdings so far this year that I've added. So again, not financial advice because I've already done that. All right, I'm just adding all the way down, and now that is at 133. So that's up 2.82%. Broadcom, another semi, up 2.58%. Okay. Tesla with the robotaxi test release, that's up 2.17%. That's been ripping. Coinbase, the Bitcoin proxy, up 1.67. Amazon up 1.33. Google was kind of hammered yesterday and it's been continuing to get hammered. All right, key level yesterday was 165. It's the gamma flip point. That might have changed today, but that needs to hold over that level. Okay. Apple's up 1.13, Nvidia's up 0.87, Boeing up 0.84, Meta's up 0.77, Eli Lilly up 0.70, JP Morgan up 0.62, GE up 0.58, Microsoft up 0.41, Berkshire Hathaway up 0.40. And Berkshire Hathaway's been getting hammered. It got hammered yesterday, but then recovered. Okay, with Warren Buffett retiring there. Netflix down 0.27. Okay. Top sectors, we might as well go into them because they look like they have some movers here. We got Uber up 3.26%, Snowflake up 2.03%, Visa up 1.15%, Qualcomm up 1%. All right, bottom down, the bottom of the list, that you got your oil stocks, your Chevron, your Exxon are down 1.27, 1.58. Okay, moving on to sectors. Semis. Now remember, semis are always a risk on, risk off indicator, right? So now they're up 1.50%, so 1.5%. So that's risk on. Followed by discretionary. That's your Tesla, your Amazon, your Home Depot. Technology, your Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, up 0.91. Financials up 0.79. So everything look good except energy, but energy does not move the market. Energy could tank, and it's only about 3% of the market cap weight in the S&P 500. It doesn't really move the market. Okay, so that doesn't really matter. All right, that's how the market works. Okay, now speaking of market cap weights, let's do a little internals review from yesterday. And yesterday was a wild one. Okay, now we started off strong and then we hit monster levels. Okay, and what I've noticed, what's been happening of late is we tend to go up to a key level. Okay, looks like we're going to go higher, and we just seem we can't, and then we fall. That's what made me go short yesterday. Okay, generally in stronger internals like this, I don't, but price structure is king. Okay, when I see tech stocks are really going to their resistance levels, even though it was strong, even tech wasn't the strongest sector yesterday at this time. But this 6,000 strike in the SPX, that's also what gave me extra confluence to short. I shorted around here and took it off around here. And I can show you in the SPY, really. So let's just show you in the SPY real quick. So I basically, what did I enter? I entered around, let's see, around here. Right here. Stop loss at the highs. Took it all the way down to here. Would have been nice to hold it on to here, but I'm still happy with the trade. Okay, so that's what happened. Back to market internals. I got that move down, right? And then when that attack from Iran on U.S. base was not looked at as much of anything, the market shot up. Okay, the market shot up. And you can see here, I want to make sure you guys understand this, that white line is the equal weight. Okay, that's just every sector up here looked at as equal, which is not how the market works, but it's good to see the divergence there. So this means usually that's bullish when the market equal weight is falling from the market cap weight. And once that recovers, you're going to get a big move, and that's exactly what happened. Okay? All right, let's get into the economic calendar today because we do have data. Okay. One of which is the Fed Chair Powell testimony today at 10 a.m. Okay. So at 9:15, Fed Hammock speaks. 10 a.m. Fed Chair Powell testimony. I think we're going to get that live, but I saw something else that's going to be text released. I'm not sure. 10 a.m. is consumer confidence, and then more Fed speak. Okay, that's what's on the calendar today. As far as news, let's see if any. Usually I like to get the stocks. So hold on, let's refresh this because I like to see usually stocks. Here we go. All right. Now, Tesla stock rose 2.1%, continuing the previous session's strong gains after the EV manufacturer officially launched its long-awaited robotaxi service in Austin, Texas, using a small fleet of 10 to 20 Model Y vehicles. Uber stock rose 2.7 after the ride delivery company announced the launch of autonomous ride services in Atlanta in partnership with Waymo, which is, I believe, Alphabet or Google's. Chewy stock fell 2% after the pet food and products retailer announced an underwritten public offering of $1 billion of its Class A common stock. Let's see here. Teladoc stock rose 5.8 after Citron Research identified the digital medical services platform as a long investment opportunity, highlighting the growth potential of its BetterHelp online therapy platform. We already know why Exxon and Mobil fell. FedEx stock was up nearly 1% with the package delivery firm due to report quarterly results after the closing bell. Coinbase stock rose 2.3 with the cryptocurrency exchange benefiting from Bitcoin hitting a one-week high. Okay. More news. Let's see. Powell is staying at the Fed with Trump appointments possibly limited. U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell begins 2 days of congressional testimony on Tuesday under the fire from President Donald Trump. All right. Big U.S. banks expected the ACE stress test boost dividends. Let's see here. U.S. Safety Board to scrutinize Boeing role in 737 MAX 9 mid-air emergency. Starbucks says it's not currently considering a full sale of its China operations. Okay. Now I'm just going to look for anything that's big. The one big news yesterday were Hims, Novo Nordisk like pulled out with their relationship with them, and then there's some back and forth. That's why Hims took a little hit there. Let's see here. That's it. That's it there. Let's look at the juice, see if there's anything here. It just says oil slumped and equities gained as Trump expressed confidence that a fragile truce between Israel and Iran would hold, reinforcing investors' optimism for a lasting resolution to the conflict. Now, there's a bunch of other stuff. Iran denies firing missiles at Israel. Israel Defense Minister, I instructed the military to respond forcefully to Iran's violation of the ceasefire with high-intensity strikes. So this is not over. Okay, this is not over. And let's see if there's any Trump stuff for today. I don't see anything right now, but you never know. You never know. Okay, real quickly, let's see if there's any upgrades or downgrades we can look at. Let's see here, upgrades. Just real quick, EA upgrade. What else? Lyft upgrade. Any downgrades here to talk about? Downgrade Alibaba, downgrade Dollar General, Oscar Health. Ooh, they got a downgrade. Interesting. Okay. And we're going on. We're moving on to the daily charts. All right, let's move on to daily charts. All right, so I kept pointing out in my Discord, right, this balance area, right? And I've talked about it yesterday. Now, look what happened yesterday. We breached last week's lows. And I pointed out in my Discord here yesterday. I can show you guys. Hold on a sec. Let's see. Live market updates here. And I pointed it out yesterday. Okay. This is what you get in my Discord. Okay. And I post it right here again. I said, notice these last week's lows in the Qs and the SPY. Okay. Then we breached them, right? So balance rules. Usually, if you break the balance, right? Let's go back to daily charts. If you break the balance and you fail to hold it and start to go back through the range, you're most likely going to go back to the other side of balance. Okay. So if you were short from here, from here, from here, and we went down here, now we're back. If we start to go through this, you're going to go to the other side. It's just how it works, right? because once you pass the midpoint of the range, all the shorts that still are holding are going to have to cover, and then propels you to the other side of balance, and then you have to make a decision as well. So you can see we closed above the previous day's highs. Now with that other news, we closed at 600.15 yesterday. Market's currently at 604 and a half. So we're all the way, look where we are, last week's highs. That's exactly where the market is right now, last week's highs. So we already did the balance rules, and we're back to balance highs, just like I said. It's just happening in the pre-market. So we're at these balance highs. Now, can we reject and go back? Yes, we can. So that's big time level. Now, there's a big disconnect from futures in this chart, okay? Because the futures have had so many outsized moves that you don't see here. You see here we're just in balance, but we've been down like here in futures, right? So I'm going to go to futures, and that's futures gives you the inside scoop really on the real movements. Okay, look at these candles here. You don't see that in the SPY. Okay, these big ranges, and when we're all the way down here. Okay, look at futures. This is last week's highs. We're above last week's highs. You're getting a nice wick here. You can see that's the previous week's highs. So we're above last month's highs. So you can really see this range, right? So we are breaking this key level here, but we just have to see what happens, transpires, okay? Let's move on to the Qs. Qs, you got this big range, right? We talked about this range. You could start it all the way from back here, okay? Been in a range. Qs, look, breached last week's lows, breached last month's highs. Now the Qs, look at that. It's very interesting. It did not close above the previous day's highs. Okay, it did not. However, right now where we at 536.80, we are above last week's highs. We are all the way up here, right even with the previous week from not this week. This is last week, so I want to make sure you understand that. That would be the previous week before that. That's exactly where we're at, right up with this candle. So we're right there at a key level, okay, in the Qs. Let's look at futures to get a nice look here. Futures just gives you the price action, right? We went all the way up here, got a little rejected. Now we're right here, okay? So in futures, we are above last week's highs. We breached the previous week's highs before this week, but we couldn't hold it, so we're right here. Now this market could lift off today. I'm not sure if that's in the cards or not, because now look what happened. Came up. These are balance highs, like right around here. We came down. We could not go lower. You rip through the middle. You go back to balance highs. Now this could be we fail and go back to the lows, or you get the move higher. This is called a test, right? Now this test of this balance high, if you hold it and you get continuation, then it's a breakout, confirmed breakout. If it fails, you fall back through. Yes, you go back to the other side of balance. That's balance rules. Okay, moving on to triple-headed monster. We're going to get into the bond market. Okay, bond market has been in a downtrend. Staying in this downtrend. Can it rip below this level? This level right here is the anchor VWAP of 2024. It's really flat. 200-day moving average as well. Okay, so this needs to fall 4.28 yield to get 4.113 yield. So that is your triple-headed. This is your triple-headed monster. And let's move on to the dollar. Now, dollar had some strength, and look at that's falling apart. Could not break and hold this. That was a nice move. Came up to this resistance level, failed, came down to this support level. Now we're hanging out down here again. Is this going to be a double bottom? were now rips? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, VIX. You got very frothy here, right? Yesterday, and then boom, look where we're at today. That's a little bit of a VIX crush here. Look at that gap down. So pretty interesting here, right, in the VIX. You definitely had a lot of fear. Now we're at 18 VIX, is still decent VIX, okay? All right, we're going to move on to the hourly charts. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to lead off with crude just to show you how powerful these composite high volume nodes are, okay? And how they're magnets. All right, so let's go to the hourly charts. This is crude on a 4-hour. So here's hourly charts. I just want to show you when you track these types of levels, what happens, okay? Let me get my marker out. All right, where the heck's my marker here? Oh, here we go. All right, so that price, 65.46. Look, it's automatically on the chart right here. Is the most traded price of the rolling year. Look what crude did. Ripped up, right? And then boom, stopped dead in its tracks by the most traded price of the year. That's why I have these on my charts, folks. That's why I talk about the most traded price of the rolling year, the current year, the most traded price of the month, the week, the previous day. That's why I have them on my charts. Okay? So like if you were short from here, I would have definitely took profit. I would probably had a target at the most traded price of this year, but definitely another target here because it usually stops the market dead in its tracks. Okay? Just wanted to show you guys that, why I have them on my charts. Okay? Let's move on to the ES. Okay? Now, we'll do a quick markup of this chart. Remember, 60-65 I said is the bull bear line. Remember what I said. We need to accept value above it. Well, we did. And then this is what's happened all overnight in the highlighted gray section here. This is all overnight activity. Of course, the big moves have been happening in the overnights. That's what we just did. We took out all of this. See what I'm saying? And I was preaching down here. I said, well, as long as we hold under here, it's bearish, right? And now I have an anchor VWAP right at this low. That's this right there. Okay, I have that on my chart. I have an anchored VWAP from this candle here. We did hit a supply zone and found some selling. Okay, we do have last week's highs, 61.09 right here. Last week's lows right here, 59, 69, 50. Okay, always have those on my charts. Now look, we're trying to pull back to last week's highs. It's a demand zone here as well. So I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching that. Okay. All right, moving on to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ as well had a big level. Okay, talked about this yesterday. Okay, had a downtrend too. So right here, remember these big levels? 21650. That held the market. That was the most traded price of the rolling year. The most traded price of this year, let's just call it 220. Right here. Once the market pulled back, this is where the first resistance happened. We pulled back into this demand zone, shot up, right? And then we kind of closed right at this monster most traded price of the month and last month's highs. Okay, that's that white bar. Last month's highs. Okay, now in the overnight, boom, big move up away from that level. And we pushed up, and now we have supply where it's pulling back to last week's highs, 22224. Okay, so you took out this monster level. All right, now what's left above us. We do have supply, but not until about 22515. That's where the supply is, 22515. Okay, so you just ripped up, took out all these shorts, and now we're gapping up above all of this. This was not taken out yet. I have an anchor VWAP from this as well right here. So be very interesting what happens today. Okay. All right, that's the hourly chart analysis. All right, now we're going to move on to the market profile, volume profile. Let me change my workspace. And again, anytime someone's watching me, if you don't understand something, throw me a comment and I'll be glad to answer the questions, because I understand that not everything I say or everything I'm showing is common to hear, because I'm not just talking about candlesticks. Okay, I don't just sit here. Candlesticks don't give me as much information as people's behavior, like volume profile and market profile. It's basically what you're tracking is people's behavior, right? All the volume profile shows you is behavior, human behavior. Algos or not, it doesn't matter. It's the behavior. It shows you where people are putting their money at. Okay, it's indisputable. Now, this is our market profile and volume profile. This is my baby here. This is how I construct the game plans. Okay. Now, this profile, remember what I said yesterday? Yesterday I said this has a bullish imbalance to the ES. Now, it did a little move down before it did it, but it did break the what? That 60-70 level here. Now look, again, that was the key level of yesterday, like I said. And look, we closed right here. Didn't really officially break it and like move higher. It kind of just was like, all right, we'll see what happens tomorrow. But then, boom, you rip up in the overnight, right? Hence the gap. Okay, hence the gap. Now, let's recap a little what happened yesterday. Yesterday was wild. Yesterday was wild. Let's look at it together. That's the price action. Kind of crazy. So for me, market opened right here. Pushed down. Had nice buying. Where did it go into? The resistance that I talked about. The most traded price of the week and the month. And I was like, all right, I've seen this story before. The market keeps doing this around this level and gets rejected. Okay. So I shorted. When we came back and pulled back here again, I shorted and I rode that down. Okay. So it was a nice trade. So the market came right down into here. Right. Nice demand. Ripped up. And literally in a half hour, just almost took out all this selling. Ripped up right here. Okay. Ripped up right here. All right, so that was yesterday. Yesterday was wild. Okay, yesterday was wild. Now, let's look at levels. Let's look at levels. Okay. Your gap fill is 60.8150 right here. That's your gap fill. All right. That is your gap fill. Underneath the gap fill is this. I'm going to put this in a box. That's your breakout level. That's your 60.71 resistance. That was resistance so many times. Now, this could be a pullback area to get long. Okay. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. All right. Now, we do have, let's open this up. Oops, sorry. Hold on. Right there is the price action. That's all market profile is 30-minute bars. So this is the price action from the overnight. We do have a demand zone right here. And that demand zone encompasses last week's highs right there, 61.09. That's last week's highs. Okay, right there. We do have supply up here. Okay, with the overnight highs right up in here around 61.40. This is the playground that I'm going to be looking at today. Okay, now you do have to note we're almost 100% net long in the overnight. So this is the open. That's the only short activity to this much long. Okay, that is a little feather in the cap for a correction. Now, if we were up at the top, I'd be like, ooh, that's even better for a little short. But we're in the middle of the range at the most traded price, so it's kind of negated. It's kind of negated. All right, so number one, let's just talk about, let's put it yellow here. Let's just talk about gap rules. All right. Now, the most bullish case, number one, is a gap and go. That means if we opened, we just rip up, right? That shows strength. Number two would be a failure. Gap fill, remember, 60, 80, 150. Failure to fill that gap. That also shows a strength as well. Number three is a pullback, gap fill, and bounce up. Okay. Number four is if the market pulls back into range. That is not as strong. Okay, doesn't mean it can't rip up, but just showing you how to read a gap. Oh, okay. Just wanted to give you guys that because we are gapping up. All right, let's get into scenarios now. Here we go. Let's start with the bull side. Okay, so we're price is here. All right, price is here, and we got a demand zone here with the last week's lows, last week's highs. I'm sorry. So what I'd like to see, any form of this, maybe we even come up here, pull back into this demand, into last week's highs. Right? Look and see how we react. If we bounce, just to do some higher lows here, we can come up and take out the overnight highs at 61.43.50 and try to rip back up. Okay, get some continuation. I'm going to be watching that. Okay. Second is, what if we take out this demand, right? Then you have single prints right here, which is emotional buying. We can come right in, smack into this demand zone, which is also the gap fill. Okay. Perfect would be a whoop, higher lows, and then we could start moving up. Okay. This could get a little bear trap here. We could rip real close down to this big level and then bounce, and then you can also get that move. That's kind of only things I'd be interested in for a long. Okay. Short side. This becomes not the easiest short here, but you do have supply up there. Okay. So if I want to be short, right, probably want to take out the overnight highs into the supply. So we can shoot up, take out the overnight highs, go into supply, maybe get a nice wick, lower high, and then try to come through that most traded price of the overnight, 61.25, and try to take out this demand zone. Okay, if you take out this support, most likely you're going to hit the gap fill. That could be it, right? And then we bounce. Okay, if you get more, you need to go into the range, take out this big level, 60.65. That then would ensue a big sell-off. I don't know if that happens. Okay, there's could also be a little bear trap in here, but that would be devastating. That would be a look above and fail. Look above and fail. Okay, that's really all I'm seeing there. All right. Now, if we go to the NASDAQ, we'll wrap it up here. Here's our NASDAQ. Loving how this chart looks now. So much easier to read and see the price action, right? All right. So let's look at levels and let's look at profile. So profile, remember it was kind of balanced yesterday. Now we do have excess to the downside. We do have value area. And we do have excess to the top now. Now, got to be honest with you, that kind of looks like a bell curve. Kind of looks like a completed move. Okay, now let me push this down up so we can get that supply zone in here. Maybe even do this. Okay. All right. Now, let's look at some levels here. All right. So, look at this balance area we came out of, right? That 221, basically, that was your resistance. We broke it, right? We broke it in the overnight. All right, so now you got this confluence low here with this demand zone. That's your gap fill, 22093. With this single print here, that's the gap fill. Okay, then you have the demand zone here. It's just like the ES. I like when they line up like this. Okay, let's open this up here. Okay, that includes last week's highs right there. That orange bar, that's last week's highs. Okay, now remember, we don't have supply until all the way up into 22515. Okay, so I'm going to draw it right here. That's our supply. Okay, overnight highs are right here, 22383. Most traded price of the overnight is right there, 2297, 22297. Okay, single prints right here. All right. So this is the levels really we're going to talk about here. Okay. Now we have our 21650. That's the most traded price of the rolling year. Remember, this price right here is the most traded price of the month, the week, and this year. Big levels here. Okay, 222. So big levels. Just needs to defend it. Now we are gapping up, so we gap fills right here. All right, so let's get into scenarios here. And we're going to start with the bull side. Okay, so same scenario here. Okay, maybe we take out overnight highs, fail, come through, find this demand zone and hold last week's highs, higher lows, and you can go up, maybe hit the 22515. Okay, that would be nice and clean. We can also come through, break this demand, take out these single prints, fill the gap, try to go lower, can't, higher low, and then you start to make your way up. This is a very tricky area to get in. I don't want to spend time in here. I want it quick. Okay, any time spent here is not going to be good. Okay, so that is only the longs I'm interested in. Now short side. Short side, be a little different here, okay? Now, same scenario as before. Pull back, break the overnight highs. Now, either we fail here, lower high, you come through the most traded price of the overnight, 22297, break this demand and fill that gap. Okay, that's one, and then you bounce. Number two, we could take a straight shot right up into this supply and people take profits, and maybe we just come back in. Like I said, I'm not crazy about shorts today. Now, the real thing is, if price comes back down here, comes back under that big level of 220, okay? If you find yourself here, that's a look above and fail. We're going to go back to the bottom of balance, to the 216. That'd be a look above and fail. I don't know if that happens, but it's possible. Okay. So that is it for me today, folks. Hope you enjoyed that analysis and smash the like button for me. Okay. And as always, hopefully you can join me every morning. I give you the breakdown of the markets. the leaders and the laggards, the market news, economic calendar, daily charts, a bunch of TA. Just gave you the long and short trade scenarios. We're gapping up, so look for a pullback. That's what we're doing today. Okay, that's our plan. Remember, no trade to trade. And when the market opens, a new plan might develop for myself because I don't know right now what the market, what will be driving the market today. I don't know. I don't know what sector. I don't know if all of a sudden we're going to take profits. I don't know, right? So a new plan always comes up. Now, if you want to get in the new plan, okay, you join my Discord, Confluence Trading, where I give you commentary on what exactly is moving markets. So go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, okay, and you'll see, just like here, what I say in the market, okay? Now, what I said yesterday was very crucial here, particularly right here, okay, right here. So this is at 10:30, and I give you the ticks, right? Not the NASDAQ tick, the NYSE tick. That's very key. You want to get a little lesson on ticks, I'll be glad to teach you, okay? Then we go to the internals, right? So at this time, in the internals, look at how bullish we looked. But look where the SPX was, 6,000. That's a big gamma level. That's why that green line is there, okay? That green line is there. That's a gamma level. Now, I don't talk about this a lot, and I might start offering this, right? More people join. I do have my own code that I automatically plot gamma levels, and I can share that for free if more people join my Discord. I'll start to share that indicator where we'll paint the lines on the major stocks and the indexes. Okay, now that's what I said here. Now look at the sectors driving the markets at the time. XLY, that's your Tesla. Semis, that's your Nvidia, AMD, right? At that time. And this is where I said major levels of resistance are coming into the market. This is what was gearing up for my short. So I said here, internals are strong. However, we are at major levels in the NQ and the ES. I'm looking at shorts here. Need more data first. This has happened many times in the last couple of sessions where it looks like we're going higher and then we fail. Okay, and then shortly after that, I'm short. I'm a short on a SPY and wrote that down, hit my target. I pointed it out right here. Okay, I wrapped it up, and at this time, ticks were really negative. Internals were rolling over, right? So, and then shortly after that, I was done for the day. But that's when the market bounced shortly after that. Okay, so hopefully you join up. And like I said, enough people join. I will share my gamma levels indicator for free right now if more people join. Okay, if I get more people join and then you want to go live with me today, depending on how many people want to do that, I will then give you my gamma levels, and you'll just watch the reactions to the gamma levels. That's why I have them on my charts. Okay, so that's it for me today. Everybody have a great day. If I see you in my Discord, I welcome you. If you've already been there, welcome back. If not, I'll see everybody next week because I'm going on vacation. So get in today. People join my Discord today. I can share my indicator with you today so you can see it, the benefits of it today. If not, we'll have to wait till next week. All right? So I'll see everybody in my Discord, or I'll see everybody next week. All right? Take it easy.